Good evening. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Poonam Burde. India's eastern frontier has porous borders that has aided illegal infiltration for decades. It's a problem that the BSF, the central government, for decades has been working on. The centre is now making a renewed push to enhance national security, keep illegal migration in check, and make entry and stay regulations stricter. The Immigration and Foreigners Bill was tabled in the Lok Sabha by MOS Home Nityanand Rai, who said that the law would not restrict anyone from coming into India legally. It marks a significant overhaul of the country's immigration framework as it replaces some colonial-era provisions to streamline these processes. Now, a major shift in the proposed legislation places the burden of proving legality on the individual rather than the state. That's one of the contentious clauses that seems to have triggered a political face-off. Another bone of contention is the lack of appeal mechanism, as pointed out by the Congress in the House. The opposition also alleged that this bill infringes on fundamental rights, to which the BJP simply asked, what rights for an individual who is illegally residing in India? Now, even as that face-off continues to rage on both inside and outside Parliament, the question really is, will this new bill serve the purpose as per what the government says? Let's break it down to understand better. First and foremost, now this new bill seeks to avoid multiplicity and overlapping of certain laws. Remember, currently, India has the Foreigners Act 1946, it has the Passport Act 1920, the Registration of Foreigners Act 1939, the Immigration Act of 2000. What the new bill does is it seeks to combine all of these fragmented colonial-era frameworks and make it into one. So the existing provision requires a valid passport and a visa. The government can restrict movement or deport under the Foreigners Act 1946. But grounds are vague and enforcement is discretionary. The new draft bill that was tabled in the Parliament today, on the other hand, it specifies the denial of entry or stay in cases of threats to national security, to sovereignty, or ties to hostile states, clearly codified for the very first time. The burden of proof as far as the existing mechanism is concerned is on the suspected individual. However, with the new bill, the onus is to prove the illegal status will depend on authorities. The existing provisions permits existing penalty on carriers for violation of 1 lakh rupees with weak enforcement. The new bill obligates carriers such as airlines or vessels at the port of entry to remove any passenger that's denied entry by an immigration officer. It also provides the passenger and crew data to the authorities in advance. It carries a provision of up to 5 lakh rupees in fine for violating carriers as well. Immigration functions are currently handled by the Bureau of Immigration that are guided by overlapping and often outdated provisions, is what the government has been saying. What the new bill does is that it provides for immigration officers and the Bureau to get adequate legal backing as well instead of a tribunal. The proposed law makes the decision of the immigration officer final and binding. That's something that the opposition has taken objection to as well. Now, according to the draft bill, violations will attract heavy penalties. Arriving in India without a valid passport or a visa may attract punishment of up to 5 years in jail and a fine of about 5 lakh rupees. Foreigners using forged documents could face a jail term of about 2 to 7 years, with fines ranging from 1 lakh to 10 lakh as per the new bill if it turns into a law. More to those overstaying in India or violating their visa conditions or trespassing in restricted areas could result in imprisonment up to 3 years and a fine of about 3 lakh rupees. This is also excessive, is what some of the critics of this draft bill are arguing, which is why many within the opposition want this to be sent for further scrutiny to a select committee. So as we see intensified crackdown across the country, especially here in the national capital, in states like Assam as well, is this bill then excessive like the opposition alleges, or is it the need of the hour? We'll open that up to our panelists tonight.
विदेशियों से संबंधित मामलों को भी नियमित करने के लिए तथा उनसे संसक्त या उनसे अनुषंगिक विषयों का उपबंध करने वाले विधेयक को पुनः स्थापित करने की अनुमति दी जाए।
I rise to oppose the Immigration and Foreigners Bill. Mr. Speaker, sir, this bill is in violation of those fundamental rights on multiple counts.
Let's open this up. Aparajita Sarangi, BJP MP of Lok Sabha and national spokesperson is with us. Arshpreet Kadyal, spokesperson of the Congress. Lawyer Ashutosh Srivastava and A.K. Jain, former IPS, joining us. Let me begin by asking Aparajita Sarangi. The opposition says that there is a lot of grey area as far as this draft bill is concerned. A lot of it is against the constitution and infringes on one's fundamental rights. That's why the least that the government can do is send this to a select committee for further scrutiny. Is that something that the government is open to?
A very good evening. Now let me be very clear about the reasons why this particular bill, the Immigration and Foreigners Bill 2025, has been introduced in the Lok Sabha today by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. There are four acts that actually guide the matters, or rather govern the matters pertaining to foreigners and immigration in the country. These four acts are the Foreigners Act 1946, the Immigration Act 2000, Passport Act 1920, Registration of Foreigners Act 1939. Now I must tell you that most of these acts are very old, and many of these provisions of these acts are I would say irrelevant now in present context, number one. And number two, you must realize that most of these acts were actually formulated in extraordinary times, during the times of the First and the Second World War. So you can imagine the need to actually revisit these acts. And number three, I would say that there are many overlapping provisions in these bills. And number four, and very important, the present central government attaches a lot of importance to the issues of security and the territorial integrity of the country. And for that matter, it's very important to have a comprehensive legislation which would guide matters relating to foreigners and immigration. So for that matter, this particular bill has been brought into the Lok Sabha with the best of intentions, and the idea is to regulate well, to regulate the matters pertaining to these issues very well. So I think let us not doubt the intentions of government every time. And as far as the admissibility of the bill, let me tell you very candidly, today Sri Nityanand Rai ji, the Minister of State for Home Affairs, very rightly said on the floor of the House, I was very much present there, he said that the union list grants the central government the authority to enact laws pertaining to immigration and foreign matters. So I think there is absolutely no reason why these people should create a ruckus. They should all come out into the open and support the bill wholeheartedly.
Sure, but ma'am, the question that I asked you was that if there is a greater deliberation that is asked for by the opposition, if there are certain amendments that the opposition is seeking, is that something that the government is on board with? Because the opposition, I don't think, is saying that this bill altogether, or the intention, like you were saying, is problematic altogether. There are certain clauses and sections that they've taken objection to.
Isn't it too premature at this juncture to talk like that? The bill was brought to the Lok Sabha for being introduced. Now the minister of the department has to introduce the bill. So there was a kind of debate on introduction of the bill, and the majority says, yes, let's introduce the bill. And the minister of the concerned department actually comes up and says why he wants to introduce the bill. The justification has to be given by the ministry. Now today the bill has been introduced. There would be debate, there would be dialogue, there would be discussions around the bill. So let it happen. And I'm sure there would be a lot of suggestions from both sides, the treasury benches and the opposition. So let's see how it goes.
So
whatever the reasons, I think I'm sure there would be some kind of unanimous decision.
Sure. Yeah. So Arshpreet, then the government is open to holding a discussion. That's the whole point of tabling this in Parliament, that the discussion happens in the House and not in the well of the House, where slogans are raised and sloganeering happens, and a detailed discussion takes place. Objections are welcome. Why is it then we are seeing the opposition raise a stink about the intent of the bill itself?
See, the Bharatiya Janata Party's government is used to bypassing debate, discussion, deliberation. And for no reason, every time the Bharatiya Janata Party's government excludes the stakeholders, excludes the opposition, which is also the representative of people, and directly goes and does not include, but rather they impose over the people. And that's why back in the day also we have seen they brought farm laws, and after a year they had to take them back. They made Advocates Amendment Bill. After a while, they had to again take it back. So there are many examples. There are many instances where the Bharatiya Janata Party has done this, and due to this tearing hurry, this haste, we skip many things. Many important issues are untouched. Many errors are there. The blunders are there. So all we are saying is that you send it to the JPC for further study. The Bharatiya Janata Party also has a problem with that. All we are asking for is due diligence. We are asking for the Bharatiya Janata Party's government to be more meticulous because we've all seen your blunders back in the day, and then you had to roll them back also. Now,
but why this premature? Why this premature or the presumption that there must be blunders in this? That's what the BJP is asking as well. And speaking of the JPC, the Congress right now may say that send it to the JPC, which was done with the Waqf bill, but the JPC there was called a farce. So is it something that doesn't please the opposition at all?
No, see, the fact of the matter is, it's the Bharatiya Janata Party that's been undermining committees of the parliament. There was a report that was submitted by a standing committee as well, which was headed by the former Chief Minister of Punjab, Mr. Charanjit Singh Channi, that MSP should be given to the farmers. But despite that, there was nothing done about that. So it's the BJP that undermines the standing committees, their reports, their suggestions. It's not us. Number two, there's another problem that is there with this bill. It is violative of the Constitution of India. Many provisions in the bill are not in alignment with what the principles of the Constitution are, and the Bharatiya Janata Party is in the habit of doing one thing. They want to take control of everything. They want there to be arbitrariness. What the BJP deems fit should happen. They want to be the judge, jury, and executioner who will get into India, who will go out of India, who will exit. They want to decide everything. And if somebody or someone is not in sync with the Bharatiya Janata Party's ideology, they would definitely have to face consequences. And we have all seen how the BJP has been discriminatory and biased back in the day. We have all seen how the Bharatiya Janata Party has imposed and never ever included people who have not been in alignment with their ideology. And this is something that needs to stop. So all we are saying is that there needs to be more deliberations over this. And if
sure.
the BJP
so there needs to be more clarity. So let's get that. Ashutosh Srivastav, does this draft bill, if you've read it in detail, does it infringe on the Constitution and the fundamental rights of an individual, as the opposition is alleging?
See, first of all, this is for the immigrants. This is for the foreigners. So obviously, fundamental right that is basically being given to the citizens of this country. This is one part of it. Though I understand that Article 14 of the Constitution gives equal right to everyone, whoever even visit to the country. Now, if we see Article 5 to 11 of the Constitution of India, that empowers the Parliament to make laws related to the foreigners and immigrants. And they have complete power to make laws, obviously by following the due process of law, which is envisaged in the Constitution. And accordingly, the bill was introduced in the Parliament. And now it is open for the parliamentarians to discuss the bill, and they can point out if they have any particular issue with any particular provision of this particular bill which has been presented. But as far as I feel that there are colonial laws as of now, there were a lot of changes which were required to be done, which has not taken place as yet. And we have seen many immigrants from different countries. Recently, we could see so many people from Bangladesh and some other countries without any, evidence, without having any proper documentation or visa or passport. They are staying in the country for so many years, and that requires to actually change, because see, not only in India, but if you consider many other countries, they also have strict laws so far as foreigners or immigrants are concerned. So I don't find anything wrong in this. There has to be rule of law which has to be applied, and the Constitution of India is empowered to give such powers to the Parliament, and accordingly the rules are being framed. And if there is any contrary to the constitutional provision, I think even the opposition will have all the rights to raise the issue, and even the Supreme Court will be there to look after if there is anything wrong or any provision which is contrary to the constitutional provisions.
Sure, but the
So
powers
I do
that the
not.
parliament has or not, I don't think is in contention. I want to get an AK Jain as well. AK Jain, the problem that the opposition seems to be raising is that it gives excessive powers in the hands of a few individuals. That your immigration officer can arrest without a warrant. That's excessive, that they say. The fact that the onus to prove whether you are illegally here or not does not lie with the arresting officer or the state in this case, but with the individual. So you've transferred that responsibility also away from you. That puts the individual at a disadvantage and gives the upper hand and all the rights to the system. That's the allegation that's coming through. As a law enforcement officer, as you've been in the past, do you think that's what this piece of legislation aims to do?
No, not at all. It is being projected in a wrong manner. There is no infringement of fundamental rights of foreigners. National security is being beefed up. I don't see any provision which is violative of constitution, of any article of the constitution. There is going to be a debate in parliament. If a person is entering, suppose you enter US or any other country without a proper documentation, you will be placed under arrest and you will be deported from the airport itself. They will not allow you to enter the country. They have made a mockery of this in our country. So many illegal immigrants are there, and this is being opposed by Congress and other parties. I can openly say, just to please, this is a part of appeasement policy. I will say, national security has to be beefed up. India is growing economically; it is growing. The stature of country is going up, and you are having illegal immigrants in millions and millions. So this is just to please a minority community that we are here, we are opposing it in the parliament, and we will keep on opposing it in the parliament as part of appeasement policy. There is no right. If a foreigner is entering illegally, then he should be checked. He should be deported from here. How can he be given permission to enter the country illegally? He should have proper documents. If he doesn't have proper document, then he should face the law. It is absolutely clear. I don't see any infringement of fundamental rights. It's a debate is going on, as Aparajitka ji is saying. Debate is going on in parliament. It should be debated in parliament. If there is any provision which is violative, there will be an amendment, but it doesn't mean that every act should be sent to JPC or to the select committee, and you keep on lingering it for months and months. Three acts were enacted before our constitution came into effect. So why carry those acts? If there is multiplicity of laws and these four are being abolished, there is already a provision. If a foreigner enters your district, immigration officer, he has to inform the local LIU, the local immigration officer, that yes, I have landed in your country, I am in your district. So such persons should be checked. And if they are not being checked, if there are people in millions in this country without any proper documentation, and they are getting Aadhaar cards made, they are getting PAN cards made, they are getting other documents made through our local leaders, then I think it should be checked, and it is to beef up national security and nothing else.
Absolutely. Arshpreet Kadyal, it is about national security, so perhaps some bitter pills are needed to be taken, and if it is a subject that needs to be discussed, needs to be brought into place to ensure that India's territorial integrity, its national security is not jeopardized, then shouldn't all stakeholders, all parties stand in one voice, stand on one side of the fence?
See, number one, the problem here is that the BJP does not want all of us to stand at the same side. They basically want to call all the shots. They want to make all the decisions. They do not want to delegate. The fact of the matter is that this is not the first time the Bharatiya Janata Party is being attributed this arbitrariness, this decision-making that they want to do as to who will enter and who will not. Recently,
but why is it arbitrary? It is the government's job to bring in a legislation, is it not? This is a draft bill that has been tabled by the government. Is that not the government's job?
Answering your question, if Puram, that is the logic that you're giving, then all the laws that are being brought back in the day, all the laws, would you call all of them constitutional? Would you call all of them perfectly all right? Then why were the farm laws taken back if everything passed by a majority is considered to be all right and considered to
But
be...
that's not what has happened today. The bill is nowhere close to being passed. It was tabled today and there's a discussion that's happening.
I know. I'm just giving you an example. The logic that you gave, I was just rebutting that. Now allow me to answer the first question that you made. See, recently there was an example. Last month, there was an Indian-American politician, Shama Savan, who was denied a visa, who was supposed to visit her ailing mother in Bangalore. However, and this did not happen once or twice, it happened thrice. However, her husband was granted an emergency visa in order to visit her ailing mother. So that's one. Number two, there's another example of a Natasha Call, who's a British national. There are many other examples, and people have been. And you know what? This Indian-American politician Shama Sawant also posted on Twitter, in fact X, that she was denied entry because she is in the rejection list of the present regime, of the present government. So there have been many examples where we have seen that the Bharatiya Janata Party does not take dissent, does not take difference in opinion well. It is their way or the highway. The Bharatiya Janata, and we have seen that in action of the Bharatiya Janata Party's regime. You know, media outlets which weren't inclined or which had a difference in opinion. We rarely see those channels today. There are many examples which go on to suggest that the Bharatiya Janata Party does not do well with the people who show dissent, and therefore this is another example of that. So all we are saying is that consider it for further study. Do not make another blunder, because that is what a government has been known for. There are around 4 to 5 examples, recent examples, wherein in haste you passed laws, and after that, you had to make a U-turn, a 360-degree U-turn. Mr. Modi, back in the day, even apologized for the black farm laws, which took 700 farmers'
But there are
lives.
also other laws that have been passed by this very parliament, of which the opposition is an integral part of. These bills are passed with the opposition there. But Aparajita Sarangi, how do you respond to this allegation coming in from the opposition that this is you trying to, by you I mean the central government, trying to restrict entry to those people who do not follow your or toe your ideological line?
Now, let me be very clear when I say that I'm really looking forward to a very healthy debate, discussion, deliberation and dialogue in the Lok Sabha. You remember 2 bills, One Nation, One Election, and the other one is the Waqf bill which you mentioned. These 2 have gone to the JPC. 6 months we took to deliberate on the Waqf bill. I was a member. And as far as the other One Nation, One Election bill is concerned, this is also being deliberated upon. Today also was one of the meetings. So I think whichever matter is deliberated upon in the Lok Sabha, and whatever the decision in the Lok Sabha, whether it should be sent to the JPC or not to be sent to the JPC, that would be taken on the floor of the House. So I think it is too premature to talk about the fate of the bill and the provisions of the bill as of now. This is one part. Number 2, let me give you certain figures. In the past 1 year, April 1, 2023 to 31st March 2024, as per the Union Home Ministry sources, 98.40 lakh foreigners had come to India. Now, if the Indian government wants to regulate the entry, the stay and the exit of these foreigners, what's wrong with that? Shouldn't we stand for national security? Shouldn't we talk of territorial integrity? Shouldn't we ask people who are in India for a short while to have the necessary passports and the travel documents with them, and the foreigners to have visas with them? What's wrong in that? So if the central government is trying to bring in some reforms, and that's a big reform that we are aiming at, I think all the parties, cutting across party lines, the parliamentarians should come forward and support. AndDia is not new, let me tell you, my dear friends. In fact, let me mention
deliberations and discussions are a part of
Hong Kong,
democracy.
Australia, Singapore,
that's exactly what is being
Gulf
aimed at in the parliament as well.
Countries have also come forward and have also gone for measures to regulate the foreign and immigration.
Arshpreet, I'm running out of time. I need to get in the other 2 gentlemen as well. But Ashutosh Srivastav, 30 seconds. If this were to reach a stage where it is passed by the parliament and then ratified and becomes a law, if at all there is a legal challenge to it, in your opinion, would it stand legal scrutiny, yes or no?
Yes, there will still be a provision. One can challenge before the Supreme Court of India if there is any particular provision which they find it to be contrary to the basic principle of the Constitution. It can still be challenged, and I don't feel there is any emergency at this point of time to raise any such concern. If we really want to have the proper security, sovereignty, and integrity of this country, there are certain laws which are required to be updated. They are to be made. And it is not that our country is doing, it is being done in many of the countries. They also keep on
Yes.
making new rules and regulations
Like Ms. Sarangi was also
considering the
pointing
change in
out that,
time.
of course, you need to evolve with time. AK Jain, we're seeing the kind of trouble that we're facing right now is also evolving. We have newer methods of how this infiltration can be aided. We're also in an age of cyber warfare. That's something that we need to take into account as well. But as far as the provisions of this particular draft legislation goes, do you think it is excessive? Do you think that this is something that could be tweaked around, or is this something that could solve the issue of infiltration, could solve the issue of illegal immigration that India has witnessed for decades together?
Well, it will help. It will strengthen the hands of the law enforcement agencies in the country, and it should have been done. BJP government is doing the right thing by bringing this legislation, by bringing this act in Parliament. It should be passed after due discussions. I don't see any provision which is in violation of the fundamental rights of foreigners. That I'm again saying, and I'm absolutely sure about it, I don't have any party affiliation, that this is just appeasement politics, which is being done by certain parties to please them, that you keep on staying in this country without legal documents. You get local documents made, and you.
And we've seen how easy that is to get done, to make a fake Aadhaar or a fake PAN card.
Yes,
But we'll
yes.
see we'll see where this goes from here. It's just been introduced. It's still in its nascent stages as far as passing the test of the Parliament is concerned. We'll see how it goes there. But I have to leave it here. I thank you all for joining us here on this edition of Plain Speak.